Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 26 of the Drop It Weight Loss, Wellness, Wisdom podcast. This podcast is tailor-made for those of you with weight to lose, those of you that are losing weight now, and those of you that are bathing in the success of your weight loss accomplishment. Episode 26 means it's been 26 weeks of podcasting, which marks 6 months to the day. Thank you to all of you that have been here since the beginning, even though no one watched the first episode when I released it. I'm so happy to be on this journey with all of you and to be hearing from all of you on how you've been impacted, and to be connecting with all of you on a personal level is just so rewarding to me. So thank you for being here if you've made it this deep in the podcast, and I'm so excited for us to continue these journeys together. The number one question that I get asked about losing weight is how to deal with cravings or how to deal with hunger. It's mostly cravings. Now, there's a couple things that I'm going to say about this before we really get into the meat of the podcast here. If you're dealing with extreme hunger, it's likely that you are too deep in a calorie deficit and that you're too drastically undereating. And a good way to measure that is by paying attention to your energy levels, paying attention to your sleep quality or the amount that you're sleeping, and also pay attention to how fast you're losing weight. If you're losing more than 1.5 or 2 pounds a week, and it's not your first month or so of losing weight, because earlier on in the journey, you're going to lose weight much faster than you are later. But if you're 4+ weeks into your weight loss journey and you have less than 100 pounds to lose and you're consistently losing 2+, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more pounds per week, you're probably in too deep of a calorie deficit. So if the hunger is too much for you to control, let's add a little bit of food in so that you don't have hunger like that. Now, that being said, everyone deals with cravings. Every single person going through weight loss deals with cravings, because to lose weight and actually keep the weight off, it's not just about eating processed foods in lower quantities. It's about eating less processed foods and eating more whole, real, natural foods. We talk about this every episode, and I'm just going to keep talking about it until you do it. I know a lot of you already are and are telling me how great you feel in addition to actually losing weight. Focusing on the feeling of what you're eating and how your body actually feels is a great way to measure whether or not you're going in the right direction and whether or not what you're doing is sustainable. But what I was getting at was that you are going to have cravings. Everybody does. And the way to beat the cravings is to develop a plan. So when I was losing weight, I wrote down on a notepad on my phone and took a screenshot of what I was going to do whenever I had a craving. And I just found this screenshot. I went back and started looking for old videos of myself when I was fat for new content ideas, and I found this screenshot and went, that would be really helpful to just give to people. So what I did was I worked with my team, and I had them put all 10 of the things with the reason why and specific instructions into a little PDF ebook, and it's yours for free. Just go click the first link in this podcast description, and you can download it or just take a screenshot of it. And then the next time that you have a craving, you just go through the 10 steps of what to do, and you're not going to make it to step 10 without the craving going away. It just doesn't happen. This is totally yours for free, all of the information. It's exactly it's not just what I needed, it's literally what I used, but explained a little bit better than the way that I used it. So this will help you reorient your relationship with food and reorient your view on losing weight, keeping the weight off, and dealing with cravings that do go away over time, but sometimes they still come up. You especially just have to make it through the first couple months of having cravings, and your palate will change and adjust over time. Episode 26 is brought to you by our very own community. The Drop It community is coming to you live on July 1st. The simplified plan, support, and inspiration you need to lose weight and actually keep the weight off. This community and this program take all of the complexity out of weight loss. If you're watching this, listening, this is how you know this is an unedited podcast that's unscripted, because I just spoke incorrectly, and we don't edit these podcasts because it keeps it a little more raw and it keeps it more authentic. If you're listening to this podcast, not watching it since we aren't on video, but listening to this podcast, click the second link in the podcast description to join the founding member waitlist. There are 3 reasons why you should join the founding member waitlist. Number 1 is there's 2 $500 giveaways happening. Number 2 is you might win free lifetime access. And number 3 is that you're going to be locked in at the lifetime founding member rate. That will never go up. So go check out the waitlist. All the information that you're looking for is in the second link underneath the free craving guide in the podcast description. The topic of the episode today is answering your weight loss questions. I've been going on Instagram and doing a lot of question answering, but Instagram is so short form that I never am quite able to provide all of the information in a way that is fully digestible, that's going to help you the way that I want it to. So that's why we have this podcast. But these questions vary in seriousness, and let's just go ahead and get started. The first question is, do people treat you differently after losing weight? Now, yes is the short answer. Sometimes people get upset when I talk about this because people say things like, well, if they didn't like me when I was fat, then they can't like me now. Or if they didn't want me when I was XYZ, then they can't have me now. And I think the part that's missed there is that it's not anybody else's fault that they might treat you different because of how you present. Obesity and being fat is less than the physicality of being fat. It's less about the body, and it's sometimes more about how you actually hold yourself because of the insecurity that you might feel in your own body. Again, I'm talking to my old self from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 years ago. I'm not necessarily speaking to you because we all have different stories. But in my own experience, I was so insecure, it was hard for me to speak full sentences without saying or dude or man or stuttering. Now I speak for a living. Now I do podcasts every week. And when you look at how far I've come on that spectrum, it's because of the confidence that I built through myself by addressing the thing that I didn't ever want to address. So do people treat me different? They absolutely treat me different, because what happened was I let that part of me die. I let go of that identity, the guy that was insecure. I let go of the identity of the guy that just couldn't lose weight because I was too big boned. I let that side of me die. And when I let that side of me die, I made room for a new version of me to come through. And I decided that that new version of me was going to be healthy and was going to make healthy choices and was going to take care of himself and feel good. And now I'm looking back 5 years later and realizing this person that I built, this character that I built for myself that felt like a character at first and I felt like an imposter, is actually who I've been the whole time. They were just sleeping inside of me behind Netflix and behind TV and behind video games and behind food and behind alcohol and weed and all this other shit that I was doing to just dissociate from feelings and the other things that I should be addressing. Once I started addressing all these issues, I became a different person. So do people treat me differently? Yes, they do, because I am a totally different person now. I've gone from someone that life was happening to someone that is making life happen. And most people that lose weight and actually keep the weight off have the exact same experience. People are going to treat you different, but don't be upset with the fact that they treat you different. They're going to treat you different because you are becoming a different person in real time. If they treated you the same, that would be a problem. The second question is, will stretch marks go away? And what are some strategies for loose skin? You've probably heard me talk about loose skin a couple of times now, but so many people, this actually might be the question I get asked more so than the cravings or the hunger thing. So many people are stressed out about loose skin. This idea of I was stressed out about loose skin. This idea of being overweight and stressing out about loose skin is the same as stressing out about getting a promotion at work when you haven't even started the first day yet, or you haven't even applied to the job and you're already stressing out about when you're going to get a promotion. You got to put the work in first. Loose skin is something that's earned. If you lose a bunch of weight, when you lose a bunch of weight, if you believe that you can do it, because you need to believe that you can do it to make it happen, you're going to lose the weight and feel much better in your fit body with loose skin than you do right now. You just will. You're going to move different, speak different. People are going to treat you different. Is the loose skin going to look very aesthetic? Probably not. Will you get used to it? Yes. If you have so much that it causes medical issues, some people do, things like yeast infections, or it really gets in the way of your life, then you can go and get loose skin removal. Most insurances will cover it for you. Again, unedited podcast. There's just so much noise. Police sirens. We've got the garbage truck going by on a Monday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Wow. The things you hear in Austin, Texas. So yes, no, the loose skin will not go away. What are some strategies for stretch marks? Stay hydrated. My stretch marks look really different month to month, depending on the season and depending on how much sunlight I've had. So during the summer, my stretch marks turn like a deep purple, and they're very noticeable when I'm tan. When I'm a little more pale and whiter, during the winter, they're a little bit less noticeable, but they never quite went away for me. But I never took any supplements or anything for those. If you're looking for some creative strategies, you could always look those up, but don't get too caught up in the loose skin. Why don't we get some loose skin before we worry about the loose skin? Why don't we get into the gym before we worry about recovering? Why don't we start walking and eating healthy food before we figure out when our next cheat meal is going to be? Let's do the work first and prove to ourselves that we can do it. Someone asked this question, and I love it. It's do you feel weird looking at yourself after losing weight? So I lost weight for the last time in 2019, and it probably took me 2 years of keeping the weight off to feel like my body was my own. So I had a lot of days and a lot of times when I look in the mirror and I would forget that I had lost weight. It was real imposter syndrome is what people will call it. It's when you feel like you're living in somebody else's body. But the craziest part about imposter syndrome is that when I was fat, I also felt like I was living in somebody else's body because I didn't always feel like a fat guy. I just felt like I was living in a fat body, but I wasn't meant to. That's part of how I was able to lose weight. I never fully identified with my own obesity. I let that side of me die, like we said earlier, right? But yeah, imposter syndrome is very real. It feels the same as a few months ago, I got a full arm sleeve tattoo from my wrists all the way up to my chest on the left side. And it takes you like 2 months to stop going, oh, I forgot I got a tattoo when you look in the mirror. Weight loss is the same thing. A lot of it for me came from this idea of not really knowing if I was going to gain the weight back and a deep fear and insecurity around the fact that maybe I would the same way that I had the 5 or 6 years previous from 2013 to 2019. So once you beat that fear, after 1 or 2 years, you start feeling a lot more comfortable in your body, and that cockiness too that you feel, a lot of people feel an element of cockiness when they lose weight. That starts to transition. For me, it transitioned after a couple years into real, true self-confidence, and that's when I actually grew into the man that I wanted to be, that I wanted to present as, and that I ultimately am today. That's a great question. Someone says, I have 0 willpower and 0 motivation. How can I still lose weight? Now, this definitely varies person to person, but my recommendation would be to allow yourself to do it without being motivated. We tend to think today in 2024 in Western society that we need to be motivated to do something. And there's just this reality that I totally missed when I was fat, where I thought that people that were more fit than me and healthier than me were more motivated. And then I got healthy and I started getting in rooms with other people that were healthy and other people that are influencers in this space and realized that none of them are any more motivated than anybody that's fat. They just do it anyway. And that was the most eye-opening thing for me ever. People just do things even when they aren't motivated. That's what discipline is. So motivation comes and goes. It's really easy to do things when you're motivated. Anybody can eat healthy or go on a walk when they're motivated, right? I've had gone through spurts in my own journey where I was really motivated for 90 days and lost 50 or 60 pounds. And then the motivation goes away and then you gain all the weight back. And that's because I was relying on motivation to do what I knew was right. And then I realized that those times when I'm not motivated, like I wake up and I'm just not motivated to go on a walk. You don't need to be motivated to go on a walk in the morning. You get motivation from going on a walk in the morning. So I had it backwards. And most people that are fat, the way that I was, have it backwards as well. You can do the thing to get motivated without being motivated to do it. So change, I'm not motivated to go on a walk, to I'm going to go on a walk to get some motivation. Change, I'm not motivated to eat healthy, to I'm going to eat healthy so I can feel better and get some motivation. When you realize that the motivation comes from doing the thing, you are able to give yourself permission to do it, even though you aren't motivated. And that's why weight loss is the ultimate teacher in the ultimate form of self-improvement, because the lessons you learn from losing weight apply to every single other area of life. I take that same energy into everything I do, with work, with my normal job, with podcasting, with launching this community, with engaging with all of you. There's days where you just don't want to do it. There's weeks where I'm just not really interested in recording a podcast. Am I passionate about podcasting? Absolutely. Am I passionate about helping other people lose weight? It's literally my life mission. I have it written down on my mirror, and I say it to myself 10 times every morning before I brush my teeth after I get out of bed. It's literally what I am here to do. It's why I was placed on this planet, is to share this story and go through these hardships and teach other people that they can also go through it just in a way that's more efficient than what I put myself through. I mean, I've committed my entire life to this, so of course I'm passionate to do it. But there are some days when I wake up and I just want to lay in bed. And there's some days when professional athletes wake up and they just want to lay in bed, but they find a way to get up and do it. And the reason they do it is because their why is strong enough. The reason why I do this is because my why is strong enough. The idea of positively impacting the world is stronger than my urge to stay in bed. And a quote that changed my life and helped me develop this mindset is, when the why is strong, the how becomes easy. If you have a strong enough reason to lose weight, the how becomes easier. So really practice, what is the reason? You want to look better? Why do you want to look better? You want to feel better? Why do you want to feel better? Keep asking yourself why until you get down to a reason that is so strong that you just can't not do it. I never had a strong enough why. That's why I'd always gain the weight back. And that's what I see with the people that I work with one-on-one as well. They typically don't have strong enough whys when we initially start working with each other. But the reason why they keep losing weight and keeping the weight off is because they learn how to frame their mind, and they're practicing changing their mentality to figuring out what they actually want in life and what they really desire. Most of us don't really know what we deeply desire. It's really interesting if you're just ever in conversation with a stranger, you know, what do you really desire in life? And they have to think about it. It's not front of mind. The why is not front of mind. If it's not front of mind, if someone asks you, why do you want to lose weight, and you don't know the answer without thinking about it for more than 2 seconds, then you don't have a strong enough why, and you're not thinking about it enough. We become what we believe about ourselves. If you have a strong enough why that you're working towards, you believe that you're working towards it, and you believe that you are becoming that, then you will. If you believe that you're just big boned and you have bad genetics and you've always been a big guy, and then you're never going to lose the weight. It has so much to do with what you are saying to yourself and practicing developing a healthier inner voice. It starts with talking to yourself, addressing negative thoughts, realizing that you are not your thoughts, but over time, your thoughts are guiding you in the direction that you either want to go or that you don't want to go. So don't identify with your thoughts, but practice thinking thoughts that will help you do positive actions and help you move in the right direction. Someone says, how do I not get desperate when I'm not losing weight in the area I want to lose weight? So I think what they're alluding to here is maybe they want to lose stomach fat, but they're losing fat in other areas of their body. So you can't spot reduce fat. There's nothing you can do to make your arm fat go away besides lose fat on your body decides where the fat comes off. You can be in a calorie deficit, but ultimately your body decides where the fat comes off and when. So for me, my face was the last part of my body that really lost fat. So even when I was only 20 pounds overweight, I still had a really big looking face. And when I went from 185 to about 165, I looked like a fully different person because it looked like I lost 10 pounds at least in my face, right? But in the very beginning, all the weight was just coming off of my stomach. So it really has to do with how your fat is dispersed on your body, and that really just has to do with your own genetics. Everyone is really different. Some people carry more fat on their hips, their stomach, their boobs, their face, their ass, their legs, their arms, whatever it is. You can build muscle in that area to make the fat more spread out and look more dispersed, but there's nothing you can do to make yourself remove fat in a specific area. A lot of us have tried these weird fat-burning machines when we were younger where you put electrical shockers on different parts of your body like it's going to help the fat burn in that area. Those are all scams. So unfortunately, the answer to your question is probably not the answer you're looking for. There's not a way to do it. Now, how do you not get desperate when you're realizing that that's not happening? Yeah, set goals that don't have to do with fat being removed. You're probably just setting the wrong kind of goal. Set a goal about a feeling versus a look. Set a goal about being more energetic and younger and more vibrant than you've ever been before, instead of saying, I want my stomach to be smaller. And look at how much more sustainable that becomes. Someone says, how do you manage time? I feel like I don't have time to lose weight. This is a really great question. We did a podcast on this called The Importance of Having a Routine for Weight Loss. But to summarize some of that, if you need more details, go listen to that episode. But to really summarize it, what I would say is always do 2 things at once. Now, that's not the same as multitasking. When people say that they're good multitaskers, that's typically bullshit because you can really only focus on one thing at once. You can only think about one thing at once, but you can do one thing while you think about something else. So walking is aimless. You can walk while you talk on the phone, which is something that you're thinking about. So the next time that you take a phone call, go on a walk. You can meal prep without thinking about it while also listening to a podcast like this, or listening to an audiobook or a self-help book, or taking a work phone call or whatever it is that you're doing. If you need to spend time with your kids and you also need to cook or to meal prep, you could cook or meal prep with your kids. If you need to go on a walk in the morning, but you can't because of your kids, you could take your kids on the walk with you, just wake them up 15 minutes earlier. They would probably benefit and feel better throughout the day once they get into that routine. And they're going to look back and have great memories with their parents of getting out of the house and doing positive things like moving their body in the morning. So it's a win-win for everybody, but always look for different ways to combine two things at once. You got to walk and you got to go to the grocery store, walk to the grocery store. How can you move and accomplish your goal at the same time? That's how you manage your time. If you work in a cubicle environment, don't sit down on your lunch break. Go move on your lunch break. Look for ways to incorporate movement. It's going to make your day better. In addition to you just being more active, you'll feel better throughout the day, and you'll get to the end of the day feeling better as well. So it says, what is the key to consistency? Yeah, the key to consistency is a strong enough why. Now, if you don't have a reason for doing something, typically it's hard to do the thing consistently. So it's having a strong enough why and realizing that you're not always going to be motivated. So when you're not motivated, look at it as the world asking you, how bad really? It bugs me sometimes when people say, a lot of the content online is, you don't want to lose weight because if you did, then like, how bad do you really want it? There's elements of that are true, but it doesn't take into account that there's a lot of noise, and it doesn't take into account the fact that we want to lose weight and we know how to lose weight, but we haven't always done the mental work to really write out our priorities or to figure out why we want to lose weight. So it's just a little too simple, but the key to consistency is having a strong enough why that you are consistent even though you are motivated. What is the best way to support someone else on their weight loss journey? This is a great question. The first thing I would say is not to support someone on their weight loss journey unless they ask you for support on their weight loss journey. You all know as much as me, sometimes there's deep shame tied to obesity, and there's deep shame tied to a relationship with food. And the one thing that I learned when I was on diets, people would ask me, oh, how's the diet going? Oh, how's the weight loss going? And I would lie. Like I would have a horrible day of eating and then I would just lie and go, oh, it's going great, man. Lost 3 pounds, even though I gained 2 the day before. And it got to the point where I was like hiding this thing from people, and they didn't know. They meant the best by it. But if you are in the supporting role here, don't support someone unless they ask you for their support. If you feel a need to support someone, you can always say, hey, what can I do to support you? So asking that question might be helpful, but never assume a role of supporting someone on their weight loss journey unless they ask you to. But always talk to them about it. Now, there's so much shame tied to obesity sometimes that sometimes people don't want to share it with people that they're close to. And sometimes people that have lost weight and then gained it back are embarrassed about sharing it with other people because they don't want to feel the shame of gaining it back should they repeat the same cycle again and then have to explain to people that it didn't work. So I totally resonate with that. Now, if you are someone that's losing weight, it is important to have support. Most people benefit from having support. So who's closest to you that you can ask support from? Whatever it is that you need. Your parents, your siblings, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, maybe even a coworker or your best friend. But to be able to just say to someone, hey, I'm just putting it out there that I'm losing weight. And it's something in the past that I've struggled with, but I'm just deciding that I'm going to make my health my top priority. And I don't know exactly how you can support me. You know, it makes me feel weird talking about it sometimes, but I'm just practicing talking about it because I'd like to have a healthier relationship with weight loss in general. So if I ever just need to talk to someone about it, can I call you or can we meet up? That would be really beneficial for me, just knowing that I have someone to talk to should I need to. And they're going to say yes, and it's going to make you feel really light about it. And it doesn't have to be this big secret if you don't want it to be. If you're someone that doesn't have people like that around you, that's also a major part of this community, is that you're going to be in a group of people that are all working towards the same thing. That's the benefit of community. That's why the Drop It community is launching on July 1st. Someone asked, is water fasting good for weight loss? Yes. Yeah, it is. Water fasting is starvation, and starving yourself is great for weight loss. Cigarettes and meth are also great for weight loss. Cutting off a limb is also great for weight loss. Clearly, I'm being facetious. Please don't do any of these things. Please don't take a snippet of this podcast and post it anywhere out of context, because I can feel that somebody might do that. All these things are good for weight loss, but weight loss is not the goal. Permanent and sustainable and healthy weight loss is the goal. Water fasting is not good for permanent, sustainable weight loss, because the way you lose weight dictates how sustainable your results are. So if you go on a 7-day water fast, gosh, when I was fat as fuck, when I was 274 pounds, if I went on a 7-day water fast, I realistically probably would have lost 15 pounds in that 7 days. And there's a lot of people listening to this that are bigger than I was that would probably lose even more. But what happens right when you start eating is that you gain all the way back instantly, and it was really all for nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that like weight loss challenges might not have a place in the world, right? Like 75 Hard is a really extreme fitness and nutrition challenge where you only eat whole and nutritious foods, and you do 2 workouts per day, and you read a book, 10 pages in a book every day, and journal every day, and meditate every day. And it's a way to kind of overhaul your whole life. There's a place for some of those things, but who are you on day 76? Are you going to learn from these programs to actually keep the weight off, or are you just binging something and obsessing about something for 75 days? What are you learning that you're going to take into day 76? The same thing goes with Whole30. Are you paying attention so that when you get to, and I'm talking to my old self here because I've tried all these things, right? When you get to day 31, who are you on day 31? The same thing happens with the 7-day water fast. Who are you on day 8? What do you eat on day 8? Can you really learn how to have a healthier relationship with food by simply avoiding food? Probably not, because the reality is that most of us that have unhealthy relationships with food have tried to dissociate from food. And we say, well, what if we can just look at food as fuel? What if food just became a weight loss thing and it was never a pleasure? And we cut out all the foods we like, or we cut out food entirely and just do a water fast. And then you come back to eating, and over time of doing this, you eventually figure out how to keep the weight off, and you look back years later and realize the way to lose weight and actually have a healthy relationship with food isn't to disconnect from food by avoiding it. It's to connect further with food. It's to feel the food. It's to pay more attention to what you're eating, to breathe in between bites, to look at the food before you eat it, to be mindful around food. That's how you have a healthy relationship with food. That's how food stops running your life. You recognize that everyone that has a healthy relationship with food, think about it like this. You want to have a healthy relationship with food. A healthy relationship is a relationship. That means you have to have a relationship with food. You can't have a relationship with something that you just don't eat or that you're avoiding. So water fasting probably isn't going to help you have a healthier relationship with food, but you might learn something about consistency. You might learn something about discipline. So that's not to say that no one should ever try any of these things, but just have that mindset while you go into it that this is not something that you're doing forever. And you don't want to associate these things with weight loss because that inherently is unsustainable. Water fasting is inherently unsustainable. So is 75 Hard. So is Whole30. Again, that doesn't mean that you can't learn things that you can bring into the real world after those challenges are over. If you made it to the end of the podcast, I really greatly appreciate you being here and the fact that we've been doing this podcast for 6 months, and so many of you have messaged me saying that you've listened to every single episode. It just makes me feel so good, and it makes me feel so aligned with my mission, and it makes me feel like we're really making a difference here. So thank you, everyone that supports all of this content. And gosh, it's just so rewarding for me. If you haven't left us a review on Apple or on Spotify, please leave us an honest review, anywhere from 1 to 5 stars. Reviews just really help us get this message out to more people that maybe have weight to lose and maybe would benefit from having a more sustainable relationship with food and with weight loss. See y'all next week.